morning.
My favorite Irishman, John. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, man? Everybody's been asking for you. Everybody's been expecting you. First question first. How was Las Vegas? Did you have a great time? I know you're out there.
Yeah, it's bittersweet, man, because I'm bummed. Well, first of all, I'm excited for the game this weekend, but I'm bummed because I was supposed to be there with you this weekend, and now I'm not going to be. I chose.
You know what, though?
Yeah.
You might be glad if this weather turns out as crappy as they're saying. You might have lucked out, man. Figure it out another year. It could be bad. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the first or the last time I saw Notre Dame play in person against Clemson was in a hurricane. So the weather's not that big of a deal. I still would have liked to come, but I chose sin over Jesus, over touchdown Jesus.
There you go. You just need to repent, and then you'll be back in everybody's good graces.
Yeah, I can see when I die and I go to the pearly gates and I'm standing in judgment before Jesus. He's going to go, you remember back in 2022 when you had a chance to go watch Touchdown Jesus in person and you chose to go to Sin City and said, I'll be banished to 20 years of purgatory for that.
Been good. So, Ken, let's talk Notre Dame Clemson. I want to know from you, what's your confidence level in Clemson this year? How do you feel about them? I mean, they're undefeated, but I feel like they're getting overlooked nationally. You know, Tennessee's exciting, shiny new thing. What do you feel about where they're at right now the year's gone?
Well, I can't believe we're sitting here. It's November already. The season's almost over. You know, we've only got a few weeks of regular season left. It's really unbelievable how quick this season went. But Clemson is who they are this year. I mean, I feel like that they've underperformed considering the level of talent that they have on the team. Really, one of the bright spots up until the Syracuse game a couple of weeks ago was the way that DJ was playing. I mean, he played terrible last year. We all know the whole story with that. With the exception of the Syracuse game, he played amazing all season long. I mean, going into that game, he had like 18 touchdowns, 1 interception. He was completing 70% of his passes. He's rushing for 40 and 50 yards a game on top of that. I mean, the guy was really just playing the way that we thought he was going to when he first came into Clemson, right? And then that game happened, and oh my God. You flashbacks of 2021 happened. Now, I think that was an anomaly. I don't think that he's going to play that way this weekend, or at least I hope he's not going to. I mean, he played bad enough to get benched for the true freshman Cade Klubnik to come in and save the day. But defensively...
Now, can I ask you, what, with DJU, we saw, even in 20, when Lawrence was out and you guys came to our place in the COVID year, he threw for 440 yards or something, like as the backup. Was this an offensive line regression that caused him not to be trending straight up, or was it his own development, or a little transitional year, or is it just on track and guys struggle once in a while? Don't worry about it.
Well, last year it was kind of a perfect storm of problems for the Clemson offense and DJ himself. I mean, he had injuries all year long. He had a broken finger on his throwing hand and still played through that. He had a knee injury. The offensive line was absolutely atrocious. I mean, and DJ, I don't know if you heard. There's a running joke in Clemson land. I don't know if you've heard, John, but DJ lost about 25 pounds in the offseason. Did you know that?
I know it, and I've seen it. It's obvious.
Yeah.
It's very obvious when you look at it. That brain looks way, way different than 2020 when he was here. Does that help him or hurt him? More athletic, more nimble, faster, or more susceptible to get banged around now? It's just...
Well, it definitely helps him. He's more nimble, and he can navigate the pocket better and get an escape pressure a little bit. And he's not a fast guy. He's never going to be. He wasn't given that God-given talent, right? He's slow, and he even admits he's slow. He's a big guy. He reminds me a lot of almost like a Ben Roethlisberger type body, But anyway, it's a running joke. It's a running joke because on every single Clemson broadcast, the announcers remind everybody 10 times during the broadcast that DJ lost 25 pounds in the offseason. So it's a running joke amongst Clemson people. But Yeah, I feel like that there was, like I said, a perfect storm of terribleness on offense last year. The receivers didn't play well. I mean, our number one running back was a true freshman, Will Shipley, last year. The offensive line was bad. DJ played bad. It was bad all around. I mean, they had the worst offense in the ACC, if that tells you anything, in 2021. So they have made big.
How is that even possible?
Yeah, how is that possible?
How is that even possible with the talent that is just in and around that program? That's mind blowing. That does tell me, that does indicate to me what you said, where you have, if you're in that dynamic with the talent that's around that program, you're right. That means you have one or two or three things that are all in the mix together that aren't quite lined up to get to that point. When you have that amount of talent, you draw talent around. It seems like that offensive line stabilized, gotten a lot better from last year, right?
Oh, well, it's miles better. We actually have guys playing a single position instead of rotating around like musical chairs every week. So, yeah, the offensive line's better. The running game's better. The receiver, everything's better. The receivers are playing better. We've got the tight ends. We got two really good receiving tight ends, and Allen and Beringstool who have been playing great. So, yeah, all around, it looks like the team that it should look like, with the exception of the last game. So, in my opinion, each week is all about matchups, right? I like to look at how does this particular team match up against Clemson here and there. So I feel like that Clemson matches up very well against Notre Dame. I feel like Notre Dame is going to.
And that's my worry. That's my worry. I don't like that because I feel like it does line up that way.
Yeah. I feel like that Notre Dame's going to have a hard time moving the ball against this defensive line. And I heard you talking a few minutes ago about needing to run the ball and how important that's going to be for Notre Dame. Clemson this year, they don't really load the box on anybody. They've been getting home with 3 and 4 and dropping everybody else in the coverage. Now, if they get into a situation where they're having a problem stopping the run doing that, they will load the box then. But look early in the game. They're going to test Notre Dame out and see how viable they are in the run game with just rushing 3 and 4 guys.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. What do you – the buy, too. The buy is in my mind, man. I respect Dabo too much to think that with a half a month to sit on this, he is not going to be ready for what Tommy Rees is going to want to do. And Rees has not indicated to any of us that he's adequate at finding a way around it or pivoting or adjusting on the fly. So from the Notre Dame end, we're just worried they're going to try and run it into a brick wall. Then it's 3rd and long, and we already don't trust the quarterback. And people are already calling for the backup of the backup to be the quarterback this week. So, we're not in a good position in that room. And some of that has to do with the guy before, and some of it's bad development now. It's a little bit of everything. But that's the issue Notre Dame's going to run into. We do not trust the passing game. So if you can't run it at will, where does that leave you? Offensively, that's Notre Dame's concern.
Yeah, and that's why I say that I like the way that Clemson matches up, because if you look at the teams that have given Clemson trouble this year, it's teams like Wake Forest that throw it all over the yard. It's teams like Syracuse that throw it all over the yard. And no offense to Notre Dame, but you don't have Sam Hartman leading that offense. What is the?
I just don't think I don't think we physically could even do that, man. I'm just telling you where this is at. The wide receiver room and quarterback room are horrible. They were left in a very, very bad place. Recruiting, development, and retention in those two areas has been horrific, and it all came to a head this year. Then you have injuries. They're in a really dark spot there, and it's not pretty. And I saw what you saw. I'm like, how did Wake Forest score that many points? Yeah, there was overtime. Throwing the ball around. I don't know even if the weather's perfect if Notre Dame can do that or will even be willing to try and do it. And that has me in wait-and-see mode.
Yeah, they're going to have to try to get Clemson through the air at some point. But if they're just going to try to run the ball 60 times, then the game will be over at halftime. But
yeah,
I don't know, man. I was telling somebody yesterday, I feel confident in Clemson's ability, the way they match up against Notre Dame, but there is more to it than just X's and O's on, the way it looks on paper. And let's face it, Clemson gets everybody's best shot. This is the best team that Notre Dame's played all year. It's at home, and I realize that Notre Dame has had troubles at home this year. You actually play better on the road than you do at home in 2022, which is kind of weird. But
it is so upsetting, dude. It is so disturbing. I spend every waking hour asking myself how that is physically and emotionally and mentally possible. It's a real issue, man. When I do my breakdown of this game, before I even get into, on the field, what are we going to do? My number one question is Notre Dame going to show up ready to play at home? I'm just telling you, that's where we're starting at. And I have to ask that genuinely just based on what we've seen this year. It's upsetting. Yeah.
And I feel like we're going to get Notre Dame's best shot because I was telling somebody yesterday, I made the analogy that, nothing's more dangerous than a wounded animal. And that's kind of what Notre Dame is in 2022. I mean, Notre Dame doesn't have anything to lose in this game other than their pride for losing at home and on national TV. But they can play the spoiler because I'm at the point now where I think Clemson might need to go undefeated at 13-0 in order to make the playoffs based on what's happening with some of these other teams around the country. On most years, I feel like a 12-1 ACC champ gets into the playoffs pretty much about 90% of the time. I'm not so sure that's true this year. And so Clemson really needs to win this game. It's a very important game for them. And really, it doesn't mean much for Notre Dame other than bragging rights and, maybe help out with recruiting or something.
Yeah, that's really interesting, that you see it going that way. And then the dynamic also is, obviously, Notre Dame's kind of an ACC game, but you getting to the point where even as a full-fledged Power 5 member where you're saying we might have to go undefeated, like, wow, that is a little bit of a changing dynamic there with that kind of pressure. But you're right, man, and I asked that before you hopped on. Notre Dame's almost playing with house money. If you lose to a team like this, it's like, well, that's what should happen, and that's why you have losses. And they don't, like, that wouldn't shock anybody.
Right.
But if you're going to pull stuff off, then you can pull yourself out of the fire, put down those flames of playing like crap at home, build a little momentum, get people excited. But my question with that is, I never see Notre Dame coach a game that way. We talk about it as fans.
Yeah.
Like when we know Alabama has the talent advantage, you're going to have to take some chances in the playoffs to stay in it. They never do. They don't. It almost felt like, how do we keep this loss close rather than let's take chances to try and win? So that's a big question I have. I think Notre Dame's got to be a little uncomfortable, push themselves to try some things that they don't feel confident in to get over the hump this week. I don't know if they're willing to take their chances.
Yeah, that's really what worries me the most is that all the pressure is on Clemson this week. Now, the good news is if you're a Clemson fan is that for whatever reason, Clemson seems to play better in the bigger, brighter light games than they do in the 12 o'clock game against who gives a shit State, right? So,
yeah.
So, I feel like Clemson will be ready to play. The bye week came at a great time. Clemson's very fortunate to have a bye week leading into this game because they needed it bad. They played 8 straight weeks. They were starting to get really banged up, and of course, it all came to a head with the massive amount of turnovers and just they just looked like they were ready for a break. And so I think this last week, giving them an extra week to heal up and also prepare for this road game was huge for Clemson.
Yeah, and we talked about this in 2020. Dabo has a real respect for Notre Dame, and I respect him for his respect for Notre Dame. He likes coming to South Bend. I think he embraces it more than some guys do. And it's a big moment, and I wish it was more dynamic where Notre Dame has no losses or one, and this was a bigger deal on the ledger for both teams nationally. How do you get Notre Dame to play that spoiler role and really buy into that and go all out to try and ruin somebody's year? Like, that's depressing that your highest prize isn't you accomplishing something overall. But that's where Notre Dame's at. Use it as a motivational tool, I guess.
Yeah, during the preseason, I picked, I was doing the Clemson schedule preview and record prediction prior to the season, and I picked Notre Dame to win this game. I was looking at Clemson's schedule, and I said, I got to find the loss here because I never pick anybody to go 12-0 because it's more likely not to go 12-0 than to go 12-0. And so I said, out of all these teams on this list here, which one is most likely to catch Clemson slipping? And I circled Notre Dame, number one, because it was on the road, and number two, because it was preseason before I got to see Notre Dame play. So it was before the two losses that you shouldn't have lost. So I've obviously changed my opinion a little bit on Notre Dame compared to the preseason, but at the end of the day, this isn't Pee Wee football. If Clemson can get tested by teams like Wake Forest and Syracuse and Florida State and the likes of those kind of teams, then certainly Notre Dame has the talent to give them a hard time if they don't play
Where'd he go? Let me ask this, man. If Notre Dame were to win, what does that path look like? I can pretty much assure you it isn't going to be Notre Dame winging the ball all over because they haven't shown an ability to be able to do it all year. So what would that path be? Sloppy turnovers? Like, you guys aren't good in the run defense 1 week? Like, what is that roadmap as a guy who watched Clemson 8 weeks for a Notre Dame win? What would need to happen?
Well, I think you're going to have to win it on defense. You're going to have to make DJ uncomfortable. If the weather's bad, we see at least in the last game, he's prone to fumbling. He wasn't before that, but the weather could change that. Special teams is huge. Our punting game, it might be the worst in the country. Now, maybe the past couple of games, the punting game has been a little bit better. But it's bad. I mean, it's real bad. The special teams, you need to capitalize, maybe get a touchdown off of special teams, and do your best to make DJ uncomfortable, maybe make some bad throws. Just keep in his face. He doesn't really do great under pressure. He's done better this year. But look, if you give DJ a chance to have a clean pocket for 4 or 5 seconds, he can eat you alive. When he makes these bad throws and bad decisions is whenever he's under pressure. So that's really the key. Offensively, it's going to be a rough day for the Irish. I think you can't really be one-dimensional. If you're just planning on running the ball, it's going to be a long day. You're going to have to open it up some through the air and try to expose Clemson's really only weakness on defense is on the back end.
I don't know if you realize the extent of the quarterback issue. Like, I know I do a lot of things for effect, with the way I deliver. I mean, I'm telling you, man, it's rough. I mean, we're on the backup since game 2, but the guy's my size, and I ain't a big guy, doesn't have a big arm, isn't real fast, doesn't have a lot of experience, and he's under 50% completion in the last month. It's just an issue, man. I mean, some of these balls don't even make it past the line of scrimmage. The guy's shorter than me. We're in a rough spot there, and that's where I get hung up on. If you're not just going to be able to line up and run on these guys, where do you go next? And I think the only answer is Michael Mayer. Number 1 or 2 best tight end in the country, NFL guy, leaving early after this year, all that's going to happen. He's your best player. The issue is they target him even when there's 4 guys around him because he's the only guy. So, we got a quarterback deal where the ball ends up going to Michael Mayer and there's 4 guys around him. Doesn't even look for the other guys to dump off with yards in front of him. We're dealing with a tough quarterback dynamic, man, and I don't know how you navigate that this weekend. I really don't. So
tell me a little bit about this quarterback's running ability, because I think that's really important too, to keep this defensive line honest. Minimal. Yes, that's bad news for you. Yeah, Clemson. The two things that Clemson struggles with is guys that can throw it downfield. Number 1, and number 2, mobile quarterbacks. So if you have to be able to do at least one of those 2 things if you're going to want to win this game.
Now you can try and run some stuff with him or give him some options to keep it or do that, but it is not going to be a bread and butter thing. It's not something they can rely on. It has not been a big part of this. Maybe once or twice a week you'll get one where he keeps it and it throws somebody off. That is not going to be a staple unless it's a new one they put in this week because they know they're going to need something different. but he's not fast. Like, you're not going to be worried about that. He ain't fast. It would just be more of throwing off the numbers, on a play. And then the deep passing game, man, it's a struggle. Wide receivers are a struggle. Early in the year, man, we have like 4 guys healthy on scholarship at wide receiver. And I'm not exaggerating.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, yeah, you had the guy Kelly had in that wide receiver coach room doing a horrible job. Guys were leaving, guys just getting out of that room and transferring out. The guys that stayed didn't develop. Then we had a bunch of injuries. You literally in the first month had like 4 scholarship guys and then walkouts. And the quarterback problem. It's just been a very big struggle, man. Very big struggle.
Yeah, and how many plays on average is this offense running each week? I mean, is it 60? Is it 90? I mean, I have no idea. I mean, do you know?
I don't think it's up near 90. But the games where they run the ball well, that's their bread and butter, man. Syracuse, that was it. That was the bread and butter.
Yeah.
For them, for Notre Dame, they have to be able to move the ball a little bit in the run game for this to work at all on offense. There's no other way.
Yeah.
They're going to have to find a way to make that happen, or this is going to be rough. You cannot put Drew Pine in third and long. He is going to die, number one. And number two, it's just not going to go well. Like Notre Dame living in third and long, they're dead. No, can't do it.
Yeah. So that's just another thing. So Notre Dame, they play a traditional sort of slow style of offense. And I don't mean slow as far as the players. I mean the amount of plays that they're running. Because really the game plan for a lot of these teams this year going against Clemson, knowing that they have 10 guys on defensive line that can play first string virtually anywhere in the country. They're rotating guys in and out, keeping guys fresh. And so if you allow Clemson to rotate constantly, that it's going to be even a longer day. So the idea being that if you play fast and you play a lot of plays, don't give Clemson a chance to substitute. Then those big guys get wore out eventually, and then that's advantageous to your offense. But if you're only running 60 plays a game, Clemson's going to be rotating people in and out on every down.
Let me tell you where we're at. Let me tell you where we're at. With the inexperience that this quarterback has, we're playing one of them offenses where most of the plays, everybody's lining up, and then you have all the skill guys looking to the side at the sideline for the play. Then they change the play. Then they all look back. Like, it's a methodical operation, because I don't think they trust this quarterback to get up there and navigate on his own and check out of things. Like, it's very, very hands-on protecting this inexperienced, limited quarterback. And so I would be shocked if they go that way faster just for that reason. Like, they're doing that look over to the sideline, slow, methodical thing almost every play, and it's a little tedious.
Don't you guys have a 5-star quarterback sitting on the bench, or am I thinking, is he coming in with this recruiting class?
Jesus Christ, neither.
Neither.
Here's the deal. Neither. Here's what I mean by neither. Tyler Buckner injured for like the 4th year in a row, going back to high school, ACL, losing a COVID year, then fell down the stairs before the blue and gold. Long story. Anyways, you got him. Now you got Drew Pine, a couple guys behind him. In 23, next year, Notre Dame thought they were going to land Dante Moore. Dante Moore, depending on who you talk to, silent committed to Notre Dame, but then Nike showed up talking about Oregon. And the next thing you know, he's going to Oregon. Notre Dame has nobody right now for 23. May have to look at a transfer portal guy. 24 is the year they have C.J. Carr, Lloyd Carr's grandson from Michigan, committed. But he ain't until 24. 5-star guy. But that's still a couple years out.
It takes to do that. You know what's funny is that you mentioned earlier about how much Dabo respects Notre Dame and the history and the the university and whatnot. So you always hear people saying, Dabo's going to leave as soon as Saban retires. He's going back home to Alabama. He's going to co-coach his alma mater. blah, blah, blah. I've always said if he goes anywhere other than Clemson, it's more likely to go to Notre Dame. Now, he's not Catholic, but he is a man of God. So I think he might be able to make an exception. Dabo loves him some Jesus now. So I could see.
Yeah, hey, I know that. I know Dabo loves him some Jesus. It gets him in trouble down there.
Yeah.
But you remember when in 2020, he made an effort to go get his picture taken with, like, the Roxy statue out of the stadium, and he was all smiles. Like, I really respect that he respects that. And you know what Notre Dame fans are thinking? Like, you're looking down the road in that way. Here's what Notre Dame fans are worried about. Marcus Freeman's an Ohio State guy. So what we're all worried about is he learns and works out all the kinks and the rough patches now. And then right when he has it all figured out, Ryan Day goes to the NFL, and then Ohio State gets Freeman when he's in his prime.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be something?
That's what we're worried. That's what Notre Dame fans don't want.
Yeah, can you imagine Marcus Freeman goes to Ohio State and Dabo Swinney goes to Notre Dame? Now, that would be something.
Oh, my God. But back to Notre Dame, Clemson. I don't know what to expect. I really don't. I want to believe Notre Dame's going to show up ready and give a really good effort, the best that they can. Whether that's enough or not, I don't know. But there's just a lot of concerns, man. And you mentioned, like, how you were thinking about the schedule before the year. In my preview in the summer, I said it would not shock me looking at the roster and knowing some of the holes we're walking into. It wouldn't shock me in a transitional year with a whole new staff. If you lose one dumb game, you should lose. Just because of all those loose ends that you're figuring out, turns out it was two. Stanford and Marshall, two of the worst ones they could be. So I don't know, man. It's just a matter of if they show up and they're ready to play, you could have a good ball game in the second half. If not, Clemson could just kind of wear them down, grind them out, and it's ugly, and then you're on the plane going home, but you won, and you keep it moving.
Yeah, and I would like to see nothing more. We've yet to see Clemson put 4 quarters together all season long. It's either, they've been pretty fortunate in a couple of these games. It's been either heavily dominated offensively or heavy dominated defensively. There hasn't really been a game put together on both sides of the ball where they leave no doubt. So I would like nothing more, no offense to all you Irish fans out there, than for Clemson to go and stomp a mud hole in them and make a statement. But considering everything that's going on, I'll be happy if they just get out of there with a win. I don't care if they win by 1 point. Just get out of South Bend with a dub. That's what I'm looking at. One thing you're going to get from Clemson, all right? Write it down, tattoo it on your forehead if you have to. But if you do tattoo it on your forehead, make sure you tattoo it backwards so whenever you look in the mirror, it reads correctly. But they're going to run DJ at least 10 or 15 times, design quarterback runs. So if I'm the defensive staff at Notre Dame, I'm putting one of these linebackers to spy DJ because he loves to run. They give him carte blanche to do it. And to me, they shouldn't do that because DJ likes to run even though it's not his strong suit. And so, every once in a while.
Well, and you know what else, too?
Yeah.
You know what else, too? I'd like to run a lot more if I slimmed up, too, man. I have some confidence. Like, I feel a lot. Like, it makes perfect sense. He's going, man, I'm lighter. I'm more aerodynamic. I'm getting on the move here. I like that.
Yeah.
Notre Dame, good and bad with that pigskin. This year, they've been good and bad at times defending those mobile quarterbacks. Pretty good against Schrader outside of one drive against Syracuse. But that has been hit or miss. BYU has a guy that can move too. Notre Dame's linebackers have not produced the way anybody wanted or thought they would this year. I'm not sure if it's coaching development or both. They're doing a lot of reading and thinking more than instinctual reacting in that middle level of that defense, and that is a concern. We do have multiple guys. You could say, here's your number one job. Buy that guy, and if he runs it all, hit it. Like, if you want to make Maris Leopold's job that for the day, go for it. You can't miss him. Hawaiian with the big hole, Malu hair, you can't miss him. Go ahead and let him do this. Notre Dame's tackling's been an issue. Not quite as tight on their angles and wrapping up this year. That could be something to look at.
Yeah. He's a tough guy to tackle. He likes to run downhill. I mean, he doesn't have moves, right? So he's not going to be Lamar Jackson out there, right, breaking people's ankles. But he is, 6'5", 245 pounds, and coming downhill full speed at you. That's even for a linebacker or a safety. That's a tough load to handle. So, but he'll run a lot.
Yeah. Well, guess what, Nick? No. Guess what? Our quarterback, 5'8", 165. What do you think about that?
Hey.
What do you think about that? And he's running it downhill on your ass. So be ready. You're getting all of that 162, baby.
I'm scared now. I'm scared. Oh.
Yeah. You're getting all that smoke, son.
John, I've got to run, but it's been great. I can't believe I've been on the phone with you for almost an hour now. I apologize to all the other callers. I didn't mean to take over the call-in show here.
No. Every time we do this, it turns into, it feels like 2 minutes and it's 2 hours. No, I wanted to give you this time. I really appreciate you calling, and just a great guy. And again, I mean this. My channel wouldn't be anywhere where it is right now without your help. You were one of the first guys, and you could have been a jerk and said, I'm doing this. Why? I'm already down the road. Why am I going to help you out? You could have been like that, and you weren't. You always help me with questions, get me going on this, and I will always appreciate that forever.
Well, thank you, John. I appreciate it. I consider you to be a friend, so that's why I would always try to help a friend. I don't know how much help I can actually be to anybody. I mean, I'm not really in a position to be giving advice to anybody as far as YouTube goes, but if you ask me a question, I'll give you an honest answer. But anyway, it was.
I always appreciate your friendship, man. And then we are going to hook this up. Either I'll get to Clemson, or next time, whenever that is, you got to get here. We'll hook it up one of these times.
I promise. I've been trying to get there for two out of the last 3 years, and somehow it keeps falling through. I'll get there eventually. But yeah, certainly if you're able to make it down to Clemson at some point, I would definitely meet up with you up there. It's only about 3 hours away from me, so beautiful. Yeah. All right, John.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for giving us a call. I love hearing the other side of it, and it should be a really good ball game. Two nice programs here, so this is going to be some good football. Thanks for calling in, man.
All right, see you later, and have fun at the game, man. Be safe.
Thanks a lot. Take care. Have a good one.
See you.